Verses 7 to 24. The descent which this little army of Israelites made, under the divine commission, conduct, and command, upon the country of Midian. They warred against the Midianites. It is very probable that they first published their manifesto, showing the reasons of the war, and requiring them to give up the ringleaders of the mischief to justice, for such afterwards was the law, do 2010, and such the practice, Judge 2012, 13. But the Midianites justifying what they had done, and standing by those that had done it, the Israelites attacked them with fire and sword, and all the pious fury with which their zeal for God and their people inspired them. The execution, the military execution, they did in this descent. They slew all the males, v7, that is, all they met with as far as they went, they put them all to the sword, and gave no quarter. But that they did not slay all the males of the nation is certain, for we find the Midianites a powerful and formidable enemy to Israel in the days of Gideon, and they were the Midianites of this country, for they are reckoned with the children of the east, Judge 6:3. They slew the kings of Midian, the same that are called elders of Midian, ch 22:4, and the dukes of Sihon, Jos 13:21. 5 of these princes are here named, one of whom is Zur, probably the same Zur whose daughter Cosbi was, ch 25:15. They slew Balaam. Many conjectures there are as to what brought Balaam among the Midianites at this time. It is probable that the Midianites, having intelligence of the march of this army of Israelites against them, hired Balaam to come and assist them with his enchantments, that if he could not prevail to act offensively in their favor, by cursing the armies of Israel, yet he might act defensively, by blessing the country of Midian. Whatever was the occasion of his being there, God's overruling providence brought him thither, and there his just vengeance found him. Had he himself believed what he said of the happy state of Israel, he would not have herded thus with the enemies of Israel, but justly does he die the death of the wicked, though he pretended to desire that of the righteous, and go down slain to the pit with the uncircumcised, who rebelled thus against the convictions of his own conscience. The Midianites' wiles were Balaam's projects, it was therefore just that he should perish with them, Hos 4:5. Now was his folly made manifest to all men, who foretold the fate of others, but foresaw not his own. They took all the women and children captives, v9. They burnt their cities and goodly castles, v10, not designing to inhabit them themselves, that country was out of their line, but they thus prevented those who had made their escape from sheltering themselves in their own country and settling there again. Some understand it of their idol temples, it was fit that they should share in this vengeance. They plundered the country, and carried off all the cattle and valuable goods, and so returned to the camp of Israel laden with a very rich booty, v9, 11, 12. Thus, as when they came out of Egypt, they were enriched with the spoils of their enemies, and furnished with stock for the good land into which God was bringing them. They were met with great respect, v13. Moses himself, notwithstanding his age and gravity, walked out of the camp to congratulate them on their victory, and to grace the solemnity of their triumphs. Public successes should be publicly acknowledged, to the glory of God, and the encouragement of those that have jeoparded their lives in their country's cause. They were severely reproved for saving the women alive. It is very probable that Moses had commanded them to kill the women, at least this was implied in the general order to avenge Israel of the Midianites, the execution having reference to that crime, their drawing them into the worship of Peor. It was easy to conclude that the women, who were the principal criminals, must not be spared. What? Says Moses, have you saved the women alive? v15. He was moved with a holy indignation at the sight of them. These were those that caused the children of Israel to commit this trespass, and therefore it is just that they should die. The law in case of whoredom was, the adulterer and adulteress should surely be put to death. God had put to death the adulterers of Israel by the plague, and now it was fit that the adulteresses of Midian, especially since they had been the tempters, should be put to death by the sword. It is dangerous to let them live, they will be still tempting the Israelites to uncleanness, and so your captives will be your conquerors and a second time your destroyers. Severe orders are therefore given that all the grown women should be slain in cold blood, and only the female children spared. They were obliged to purify themselves, according to the ceremony of the law, and to abide without the camp 7 days, till their purification was accomplished. They had imbrued their hands in blood, by which though they had not contracted any moral guilt, the war being just and lawful, yet they were brought under a ceremonial uncleanness, which rendered them unfit to come near the tabernacle till they were purified. Thus God would preserve in their minds a dread and detestation of murder. David must not build the temple because he had been a man of war, and had shed blood. 1 Chr 28:3. They could not but have touched dead bodies, by which they were polluted, and that required they should be purified with the water of separation. v. 19, 20, 24. They must likewise purify the spoil they had taken, the captives, v. 19, and all the goods, v. 21-23. What would bear the fire must pass through the fire, and what would not must be washed with water. These things had been used by Midianites, and, having now come into the possession of Israelites, it was fit that they should be sanctified to the service of that holy nation and the honor of their holy God. To us now everything is sanctified by the word and prayer, if we are sanctified by the Spirit, who is compared both to fire and water. To the pure all things are pure.